Hello and welcome to Out as the New In, You Have a Purpose podcast. I'm Johnny G, and today is pretty crazy. I get to sit next to my son, Chase. So he came to me a couple weeks ago after he came back from LA here to Arizona, and we had dinner. And he asked, Dad, when do I get to be on your podcast?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
why is it taking so long?
I'm like, well, you've been in LA. So I'm like, absolutely, let's do this. So here he is today.
Hello.
Yes. Introduce yourself. Let's
Okay.
do that.
Hi, I'm Chase. I just moved back to Arizona from LA in the past. Well, I was in LA for 6 years.
Right.
Which is kind of crazy. So I went there for school. I majored in product design, and I got my minor in business. And then I worked in tech for a little bit during the pandemic. And now I'm here trying to figure out my next steps because, tech is a little rocky right now. So we're just trying to figure out next career steps. But it's nice to be back. I mean, I love Arizona and it's family, right? Like you're here, mom's here, my sister's here. So it's just like immediate families all around me, and friends are here, so it's just nice to kind of like be surrounded by the people that I grew up with. And now I'm like, okay, maybe do I live here now for a little bit? I don't know. I think there's a lot of things I need to figure out, but that's me.
It'll all happen the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. I think we'll just take it one day at a time and see how it goes. But thanks for having me on here. This is crazy. Look at you in this podcast. This is great.
Right? Who knew that I would have this platform someday?
No, literally. That was not on my bingo card. Like, if you had something on this, I would be like, wait, what?
Right.
You in a podcast? This is great. And it's so phenomenal, like, the things that you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much.
So I think this is really cool. So it's cool to, like, be a part of this and share whatever. And I also, like, want to hear about you, too. So we're going to have a lot of conversation.
Oh, this is going to be... Okay, let's do this. Yeah, because we didn't even talk about really topics.
We didn't. But I think it's fine to not plan it because A, you're my dad, and B, we'll just like talk about, because obviously this is Out as the New In. It's all about inclusivity and like giving back. And so I'm just like, okay, let's share my story.
Yes.
And see what, comes to that whole area, just because I think everyone's story is so like unique and different and amazing, and so for you to like have a platform for that and me to share that, I'm like, yeah, like why not? If it helps one person, that's great. Like that's don't mind
exactly
at all.
why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah,
100%.
So, this is really great.
Yeah.
So what did you want to get into? Like,
well,
gays?
Well, you are gay.
Yeah, I am.
But yeah, the biggest thing was talking about mental health, right? That's kind of the biggest platform, and having people that sit across from me have that conversation about where their mental health was through their entire process of their life. When they did know that they were different or unique, however you want to call that, they knew they were gay. Like Art, when I sat down with him, he's like, I knew I was different at 11. So, and everybody's different, right? And how does that affect your mental health? Right. Good, bad, and different when you're looking in the mirror and going, I am different.
Yeah.
Right?
It's interesting, I would say, because thinking about that, like, oh, I'm different. I don't know how to articulate on that, just because it's like, it is different, right? Because we grow up in a heteronormative society, and so because of that, you're kind of just like spoon-fed all of these different, like, man and a woman, you like get married together, you have kids, you go to work, and then I'm like, wait, I'm literally in high school. I remember in freshman year, and there was this guy in my class, and I was like, what is this feeling? And I was like, oh, he's cute, but I didn't know what that meant, right? So I was just kind of like, what is this feeling? And so that's kind of that ultimate like domino effect where I was like, oh, something's off here. I don't know what it is. Like, do I shy away from it? Do I kind of embrace it and continue on? But I just kind of like led into that. But even we'll like backpedal a little bit before that moment. For sake of privacy, I will name this person Michael. And Michael and I grew up a lot together in Anthem. And so doing that, I just was like experimenting with Michael and just kind of like figuring out who I was and all of that. And I was like, wait, this is interesting, because I was never the type to like try things with guys, I guess. And I was always like, oh, get a girlfriend, do all of these things like that you're told to do from like boy, girl, you know, like gender, all that stuff that you're kind of like given, like I said prior. But
Right.
it's just, I just went with it. And like, it felt weird to me experimenting with a guy just because I was like, wait, this, to me, I was like, oh, this feels off, dirty. Like, I don't know what, like how to go about this feeling. But I knew I liked it. Like, I was aroused and I was like, well, that's great, but I don't know exactly, you know, what I need to do now. Like, how do I find myself in this way? And so I think later on, after that high school moment, you know, experimenting with guys in Anthem, like, well, not guys, let's not do plural, because I wasn't, like, hooking up right and left. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. But it was just one guy, which led to me kind of, like, evaluating what I wanted. And I think the ultimate telltale, this is going to sound wild. 1047 Kiss FM?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think
so.
so.
Like,
Yeah,
John
yeah.
Jay and Rich. Do you remember,
Yeah.
like, back in the day? Do they still have that?
Yeah, they should.
I don't know.
I listen to Sirius
truthfully
so
have
much
no
now.
idea.
Yeah, but
like, I just listen to Spotify, but like I don't listen to radio. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
radio, bring back radio. Like, it's so good. But I think they had a conversation about like porn, and like they brought people on the air and were like, oh, like, do you watch guys or girls during like when you're watching porn? And then the guy was like, oh, I watch sometimes the girl, sometimes the guy, based off of like the intimacy of it. And I was like, oh shit, wait, I like actually look at the guy all the time. And I was like watching straight porn. I was like, what is gay porn like? And then I just was like, oh, this is crazy. Like, I'm really into this. Like, that's cool. And then I was like, oh shit, I'm gay, I think. And then it just was a normal feeling for me. Like, it wasn't like, it was all articulation that kind of like dominoed, where I was like, what is this like? Like, it's just all about experimentation and like figuring out who you are and finding yourself. And so because of that, I was like, oh, okay, now I'm here, you know, just watching gay porn, doing this thing. And then when we moved to Cave Creek, like Scottsdale borderline,
Yeah.
remember like Lone Mountain?
Mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was
and you switched
my
high schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was fine. And like that, I had no problem with that, just because I didn't have a tie to like a gay identity or community in Anthem. So I was just like,
Right.
whatever. And then Cactus Shadows, when I was there my junior year, I started talking to other gay people. And I was like, wait, like, there's lesbians here, there's gay men here. And it was just really great to have a larger community that I was like, I don't feel alone in that aspect, where I was like, oh, cool, like, one of us, like, that's kind of fun. And so I realized, my junior year, I was like, okay, I think it's time. And so that's when I came out.
Right.
And I was like, okay, this is weird. I don't know how to articulate still on, like, how to, like, not how to be gay, but, like, you know, just finding you as a person and being completely different from the rest of society. Like, it's different because I'm a white man, I'm very privileged, but, like, I'm gay, and so, like, I will go through some tribulations in my life, but not, you know what I mean? Like, it's just,
Right.
I have so much going for me, so I'm just kind of like, wow, I'm tangenting here, because I, like, my ADD is like, all these conversations, this is great. But I think going back to it, I think when I did come out, you know, I was like, okay, I told my friends first. I remember that. Do you remember Summer and, like, Alexis? And
Yes.
so I was like,
Yeah, because you
I
had
was-
you had amazing friends
Oh my
from
God.
at Cactus Shadows. Because they
I
were always over at the house.
love them. I don't know what I would have done without them. I think
Yeah.
it's so important to have such a strong support group, whether that be your like family biologically, your chosen family. Like, you will find who makes you feel amazing, and you stick with that. And that energy, you need to keep that around you. Otherwise, you kind of are like, it'll come to you. It's just gonna take a little bit of time.
Right. Completely
So
agree.
I don't know. I think
Yeah.
I was, and it still am, like the luckiest person on this planet to have the utmost support from my family and friends. And it was just, coming out was so easy. And that's so crazy to say because it wasn't like that. It's not like that for so many others. But for my story, like, I felt fine. And it was phenomenal because I was like, I remember I was in the car with Alexis and we were driving down some street and it was near the house and I didn't know like how to say it, so I just like wrote it. You know how I like write letters, and I've done that since I was little. Right. If I like don't know how to say something, I'll just like write it. And I was like, I think I'm gay. And she was
Not
like,
even right. You mean like text?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I literally wrote it on a text, and I was like,
right.
And I like passed it to her while I was driving, and she was like,
So
don't text and drive. But I literally was like, here, and she was like,
So you
okay.
you wrote the text, I think I'm gay, or I am gay.
Yeah, I was like, I don't really remember verbatim, but it was like me coming out to her.
So
and
then
she
instead
was
of like sending it to her,
yeah, I just like
phone,
passed her the phone.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Okay.
Here. And she was like, okay.
It's like,
and
I knew.
Yeah, she was like, you're weird, like, duh. And I was like, okay, like, carry on. So it was just really easy. And then I was like, okay, let's tell more people. And everyone was like, yeah, we don't care. And so it was just, the more support you get, I think it's easier to feel, for you to feel on like this safe space playing field where you're able to like feel uplifted and motivated to be like, yeah, like why we come out, that's a whole nother conversation. Like, and we can tangent to that in a bit, but I think, just having that support. And right after I came out to, my friends, I came out to you and Mom, and I remember I was like going to Moda, which was Mom's business at the time, and I was like, and she was like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I think I'm gay. And she was like, yeah, and the sky's blue. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, like you're right. But like to have that response, and I'll never forget that, just because she's like the most progressive person, right? She was growing up. Like, I had fucking Polly Pockets and Powerpuff Girls, but I also had G.I. Joes and Spider-Mans, and I was obsessed with Lord of the Rings. Like, there was no, you do this, you're a boy, you like blue, you like to be masculine. She was like, you want to try a skirt on? And I was like, yeah, I do. So it's really important, I think, and why I'm talking about this is because growing up, for you to explore absolutely everything is vital. And you need to, I think, really hone in on like what you like. Like, don't overcomplicate things. I think as a society, we like growing up, we, like I said before, we're spoon-fed these ways to like act in society and like go about these ways of just like living in terms of, let's say, I don't know, finding a partner, working, like I said before. But like, do you need to do that? Like, don't be by the book. Like, do what, and I didn't. And I like think to this day I tried absolutely everything. There's still things I do want to do, but I tried it all, and it was amazing because I felt safe and I felt supported, and there was no like,
right,
you can't do that. It was like, okay, go for it. You might not do it or not succeed at it, but like, and if you don't like it at the end of the day, who cares? And so that was for everything, though. That was like friends and like, I don't know, finding jobs and like exploring what I wanted to do at a young age. Because I remember I wanted to like lawyer, surgeon, like all these like standard things, which are great jobs, by the way. Like, I'm not discrediting that, but I think, I don't know, I tried it all, which is so cool. And then now that I'm here, I'm like, wow, I had the best time just kind of like finding myself. And I think I always will find myself because as humans, we're not finite to just be like, all right, you found yourself, cool, carry on. It's like, no, we evolve constantly. And so it's just
Right.
like,
We're always learning.
absolutely. And so I love
Yep.
that because who I am today is not going to be who I am a week from today or let alone fucking 5 years. Like I can't wait to turn 30. I can't wait to be older. And everyone's like, you can't wait to be older. And I'm like, I love my 20s and like it's great, but I can't wait to just like have it together. Like I want my shit together more. I want to like
Right.
I don't know. And like that's a good thing, you know? I do want that. But we'll see what happens. I think there's a
Yeah.
lot out there, but in terms of, my coming out story, I think that was just a really fun time which is wild to say. Like that was a fun time to come out. Like I don't know. And it didn't feel like coming out because I think as the gay community, we put on so much pressure to come out where we're like, I have to do this. And like, that's great. It's kind of like a second life in a way, right? Where we're like cats. And so I think once we come out, that's when we have another life in a way. So we have like our life where we're like finding ourselves and then it comes to this like monumental peak and then we're like,
Right.
I'm gay, and then everyone's like, oh my god. So it's just, I don't know, it's an interesting thing, I will say. I don't know why. I think I'm a very spiritual person. So for me to be like, I don't know why, I know I came back to this planet, and live on a floating rock and I like men. Cool. Like it's just I am like very about souls and like how we progress and
Yeah.
like reincarnate.
Yeah.
And to each their own. I know everyone believes in something, which is phenomenal. We all want to be a part of a community, but I think for me, I just always I think about this often where I'm like, damn, I love that I'm gay and I just like came back for this lifetime, whatever I'm trying to do here during my life right now, and just kind of like be me and having these feelings about liking men in general. And I think the identity of that is really interesting because I was like, oh, I didn't really know that I was different. Like I knew some things were off, and I don't even want to say different because it's just like when you identify as liking the same sex, you're like kind of like pushed to the side a little bit where you're like, oh, hey, you're different. That's weird. But it's like, no, I'm fucking not. Like, I like men. I
I'm
like
me.
women.
I'm me. I'm who I am.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of like, I don't know. It's interesting to me where I'm like, the whole concept of coming out is just a little silly nowadays. I think, I love like Gen Z, Gen Alpha, just because with these new generations coming, they're like, but why? Like, why do we have to come out? Like, this is just me, and it's another day. And I'm like, yes, like, I love that. Like, please keep doing that. Just because, I don't know.
Right.
And if you want to come out, great. Like, feel safe and, like, empowered to do that. But I don't think it's going to be a big deal going forward, I think. I envision a safer space. Like, I don't know, there's just a lot we have to do still in the gay community just because we have the Supreme Court just passed a couple of days about what state was it? It was some state where they're not able to serve. You're able to not provide service to same-sex couples. And I was like, the Supreme Court's passing this? That's great. Love that. I love 2023 and like
Oh,
we're
you're talking
here.
about the woman, the
Yeah.
web designer?
She made
Yeah.
I
Yeah, she
watched something on
refused-
TikTok.
She refused to do
but
a special
she-
website for
Yeah.
a gay couple and their wedding.
But she just was like, apparently that whole process of her like doing this like web design thing was like actually fake. Like she made up a whole couple that were gay. And someone fact checked me because I saw it on TikTok. But
Yeah, that I don't know.
so it like went to a court case. I don't know if it was in Colorado somewhere. And she was like going after this guy who was straight. And then she was like, well, I'm not going to lose this case. And then made up a fucking person who was like another guy to be like, no, look. And then the court was like, you're tripping. Like, that's actually insane. And then someone like came in and tried to like help her. But like, that's just ludicrous to me that people are like, you're that pressed about fucking two guys liking each other. Like, I don't know. It's weird. It's wild. I will get mad. But it's just interesting that we're here right now. And we have a long ways to go as a community. I think we've grown in leaps and bounds, but I think at the end of the day there's just so much to talk about with the gay community, and it's great. I love our community. I think it's beautiful and loving, but there's definitely some things like and I don't want to, this is a very inclusive space in my, like, how I think. So I'm just trying to be like, in the community, right, you have people that are finding themselves, people that are like, that they know who they are, they've been out for a while, and then they're just kind of like doing their own thing. And what I mean by that is like, in the gay community, it's like a universe. And so you have people that are like hooking up all the time, and like, that's great, get that out of your system. I did that. People that are like hopeless romantics and want to fall in love and start a family. And I saw something a couple of days ago where it was like, in our community, I think when you're like gays, like not just like lesbian, gay, transgender, queer, like it's the whole umbrella where it's like being a part of the LGBTQ plus community is like sex, and it's like, it's not at all. Like, yeah, it's perceived like that, and like, we definitely like love to have sex, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, but so do heterosexual people. Like, what? Like, it's just interesting that we have this image painted. So I think what I was getting at earlier with like, we have a long way to go. I think image for sure, but also like, who cares? Like, I think it doesn't really matter with like our image on like what people perceive us as, because it's just who we are. And so aside from just image, there is so much in terms of like finding a community of like your tight-knit friends, and like figuring out, basic human rights, and just all these things that come with oppression. And that's weird to say as a white man. I think that's so odd, where I'm like, oh, I'm not, but I have some struggles because I'm gay. But think about like a transgender black individual, like that, I will never be able to understand what that's like, because that is crazy to me, where I'm like, how do we help you? Because our society is not set up to help and provide adequate resources and support for them.
Right.
It's, you're white, you're a man, you make money, that's it. Like, wild. And so now I'm like, okay, let me go through this like ecosystem of like trying to figure out how to help and support others, because I was so fucking fortunate to have you support me, mom support me, Nicole, like my friends, like,
right.
And not all of it has been easy by any means, but it's easier, like, and I don't take that for granted. So now I'm just like, okay, now, cool, did my thing, how can I help other people? And so I think I'll always be looking to give other people a voice at the table, just because.
This is Johnny G with Out Is the New In, You Have a Purpose podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today, and please come back for the continued story of Chase.